In this video, I'm going to give a short, basic introduction to the Marxist analysis of workers' oppression through the labor process. Marx laid out the foundations for this analysis in his book, Das Kapital, or Capital. The basis of this analysis is that the way production is organized in capitalist economies is essentially a system of oppression. In the capitalist society, there are two classes, the capitalist and the proletariat. The capitalist owns the means of production, which I'll explain later, while the proletariat owns only their labor power, which is their ability to work. All products are made by combining this labor power with the means of production. Because of this, the value of all products is based on the labor that was spent to produce it. A product that costs a lot of work to create is going to be more expensive than a product that costs only a little bit to create. This is the labor theory of value. Now all of this is quite theoretical so far, so let's take a look at something more concrete. In a steel factory, you have the laborers who come in every morning to work, and there's also raw materials that get brought in this case it would be raw ore. And finally there's the capitalist, the person or group that owns the factory, the raw materials, and pays the laborers their wages. The capitalist does not do any work that directly involves turning the raw material into the finished product. The laborer works on the raw material to create a new product. In this case, the laborer is working to spend their labor power to turn raw ore into steel. So the raw material is turned into a final product with more value. The finished steel was worth more than the raw ore. So laborers, by spending their labor power, add value to the raw material. And this added value is called the surplus value. The final product, though, is owned by the capitalist, and it is the capitalist who receives the surplus value. So when the product is sold, the profit goes to the capitalist, and the worker receives only a wage that is not equal to the surplus value they created. The capitalist makes sure that these wages are lower than surplus value, because otherwise there'd be no profit for them. This means that the surplus value created by the laborer is stolen from them. The laborer is alienated from the product of their labor, and they're also further alienated by this entire labor process in the sense that the capitalist class owns the means of production and can therefore decide what to produce, how to produce it, and how much of it to produce. This means that the individual laborer is only a mechanistic part of total production and has no real control over how they work. And in capitalist economies, work is something most of us have to do. We as laborers have essentially no power at all over what we do at work, even though we spend most of our days in factories, at offices, working in restaurants, or other jobs. So the vast majority of our time on Earth is spent following orders. In this class distinction, the oppression of the proletariat by the capitalist is the basic foundation of our entire society. Our politics, culture, and law are all based on how we are organized economically. This means that the mode of production, or how production is organized, is the base, while everything else is only a superstructure, something on top of the base. Essentially, we think a certain way because we work a certain way. And again, this seems all very theoretical, so let's go to another example and have a look at education.
If you want to be a professional nurse, it is necessary to choose a good school of nursing, because only in a good nursing school can you get the preparation on which your future as a nurse must depend.
So we like to think that education is something we do to enrich our minds, to learn important things about ourselves and to gain knowledge that will help us understand the world around us and ourselves. In actuality, though, we go to school and get an education to find work. Certain educations will open up certain career paths. Education in capitalist societies costs money, so the majority of the population is limited in their options for education. This means that education is not only a result of the class system because it revolves around work, it's also a key source of the reproduction of class. Education keeps the class system going from generation to generation. And as kids and teenagers, we're already assigned certain futures. We go to school to learn the skills we need to do certain jobs, and the school or university we go to decides what kind of future we can have. Because of this, we are stuck in the class that we were born into. If our parents could not afford good, well-rounded schools or did not see any chances for us there, we always remained trained for a certain kind of future. A future in the proletariat. Now that's one simplified example of how the mode of production is the basic foundation of how society is organized. And overall, this has been a really simplified version of the Marxist analysis of labor and oppression, but it should serve as a quick introduction for anyone interested in the topic. If this has interested you, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. And finally, I would like to recommend that if you would like to know more about this, please have a look at Marxist.org. There you can find a massive archive of Marxist theory, texts, and biographies of all thinkers for free. Thank you for watching.